Welcome to Northwest Arkansas Investing Podcast, your go-to source for real estate investing in Northwest Arkansas.
Whether you're a seasoned investor just starting out, we bring you expert insights, market trends, and practical strategies to help you build wealth through real estate.
From buying and selling to property management and long-term investment planning, we cover it all so you can make smart, informed decisions in this fast-growing market. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of Northwest Arkansas Investing. We're here where we dive into the people, strategies, and opportunities shaping real estate and business success here in Northwest Arkansas and beyond. Today's episode, we've got Mr. Brian Polari, founder of Polari Media, a creative powerhouse that's helped brands, real estate professionals, and entrepreneurs showcase kind of properties and their personal brand and things like that. So thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you. Appreciate your time. And I've got Brian Wagers here. Zach Stanley is out, normally with us each time, but he's out for a little bit on a little bit of a hiatus, traveling a little bit, but he'll be back soon with us.
Yeah, we got it.
We know it. So, but we want to kind of unpack, Brian, your story, what you've done to kind of build your business. I think a lot of business owners listen to our podcast and would love to kind of hear, as a young guy, how you've been able to kind of create what you have. And on top of that, we want to also highlight just some things, what personal branding looks like, especially for real estate investors, real estate professionals, how folks can kind of use that for, raising capital. Brian does a lot of this, raising capital, showcasing products that you're looking to raise capital for, or even, help attract great tenants and show off amenities for the properties that you own and are managing. So again, thanks for your time, man. We're pumped to have you. So
I think the youngest guest so far.
Definitely. Yeah.
I'm flattered.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I think we had our first woman on earlier last week. Kathleen Caldera.
Awesome.
And I think this is a young. How old are you?
21.
21. I love it, man. I love it. I feel like I'm just starting to get. It was always fun to as you start to build your business to people say, man, you're so young. I can't believe you're doing that. I'm starting to I'm getting out.
You're starting to get age out of it?
They're like, oh, you're doing what you should be doing.
Well, geez, how old are you now?
27, just turned 27.
Goodness.
Yeah. So, man,
old man in here.
I'm telling you.
34. I'm the oldest at 34.
Yeah, I was going to say 34, two
Killing
babies. So, dude, thanks again for coming on, though. I'd love to get just kind of a 30,000-foot view for the listeners to kind of catch up on, where you from, what you do, kind of how everything started. To just give us a kind of a high-level view and then we can dive in a little.
I'll talk about Polari Media first, kind of what we do. So our motto is we make businesses sexy. And the concept kind of is taking boring businesses and, showing them in a new light with the social media kind of at the forefront and the center point of what we want to utilize to kind of help grow brands. That was kind of where we focused our attention and tried to put a lot of energy and effort into learning that and doing that well, especially for brands. Our business model is, helping businesses kind of manage their online brand. And then also, on the flip side, we do a lot of real estate marketing. Then we do a lot of just production work for a lot of people. So a lot of it is very, focused in the real estate industry because that's kind of where we started. And I'll obviously talk about, what that looked like when I was 14 years old trying to skip school to go do real estate shoots. But that's kind of what we do and who we are. But no, I was born and raised in Clear Lake, Iowa. So just a small town, about 4,000 people. And I knew I had a passion for video. I knew I loved to, pick up a camera and create things. And, we were making YouTube videos ever since I was just a young kid. And, from there, Dad got a new job in Arkansas, and we moved to Northwest Arkansas, and he was in the military, and just kind of whole new start. The biggest city I'd ever been in, almost to date.
Yeah. So you were 14? Is that what you're saying? About 14 when you picked up a camera? Or?
I was 14 when I started the business. Okay. I've been using a camera since I was 9, 10 years old. Yeah.
And when did you move to Northwest Arkansas then?
It was the summer of right before I started 7th grade.
Okay.
So I don't remember. What is it?
Yeah. Probably 12 or something.
Yeah. 12 years old? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's 2000.
Do the math.
Yeah, 2012. 2012. Yeah, 2000.
Yeah.
13, 14. 13.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So Brian and I, Polari, we got two Brians, so we're going to have to go back and forth here.
You can call me Polari.
Yeah.
That's easier.
Polari, okay. So So we met each other through my mother-in-law was principal at the school you were at, School of Innovation, East Springdale. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
My wife works there now, so I love that.
Shout out Springdale School of Innovation.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Down Tyson School of Innovation.
Yeah.
So, and you were what, 16, 17 at the time when we met because Brian Polari did our wedding.
Well, I did your family pictures first.
Did family pictures?
Yeah. I remember that was on the front porch of your mother-in-law's house.
That's right. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah, Brian remembers that.
Well, yeah. So kind of started with that, and then how did y'all two?
Sorry.
How did we meet? Because I don't remember.
We met.
Were we introduced over social media?
Yeah, it had to been through social media. I see you were doing some pretty good work for like showcasing real estate really well, and you did a lot. I don't know if it was realtors or someone had recommended you. Maybe I think someone I was using for photography and videos wasn't available online, so I started reaching out for some referrals, and I think we did some content for an apartment I was about to close on. But
yeah, you got us at like the most interesting part of our business too. Just in terms of like, that was like a turning point. That was most definitely, you came in at like probably one of the coolest times where we experienced the most growth in the span of 2 years that I've, ever experienced in the lifespan of the business.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I have 0% ownership of Polari Media, so that's disappointing to hear. But before we go to more current, so Tyson School of, is that a technical like high school?
It's a public charter school.
Yeah, like a STEM-based school with a
STEM.
It was they just wanted to kind of take a new approach to learning, I guess. So it's a very open concept throughout the entire school.
Interesting.
Very modern.
No, there's no sports, so it's kind of like it's media stuff that he's doing, or
bunch of nerds
welding,
just hanging out in a big building.
And it was like welding, right, and some other different trades.
So kind of what my mind is going to like technical college, but more like around high school.
Like you could graduate with a I don't think a bachelor's degree. Gosh, I'm gonna sound like such a goof.
Like associate's degree.
An associate's degree. Yeah, you can graduate with an associate's degree, and you can also. The goal was to like have these programs that you could, step into. Like you could get into the welding program, and you could step into a welding job right after high school. At 18, 19 years old, pretty much.
They got stuff for theatrics, probably like thespians and stuff like that.
Yep. That's an actual word, yeah.
That's a funny word. So, but
I've heard that one before.
Yeah, that is
Brian, before we started this podcast, was like, is there anything I cannot say? Or like,
how much of a potty mouth am I allowed to have?
We taught him a new word today. No, but just going back to it, how do you think School of Innovation played a role? I mean, obviously you grew up and you started the love for cameras and making content was when you were 9, 10 or whatever, but as you get older and you get into, you guys move here and you get into School of Innovation eventually.
Yeah.
How do you think that? Do you think that was a big role in kind of what?
Yeah, and I owe a lot of our success as a business to a lot of the people that I met along the way. 2 teachers specifically, Mr. Pasquenzo and Mr. Chastain. They're both pivotal roles in my business. Chastain was like the mom, and Pasquenzo was like the dad because he was a hard ass. Like nobody would not get yelled at some point by him, but he just held us. He never lowered the bar, and I think that was really important because he always held us to the standard. And I heard a really good term for this just the other day. It's not what you teach, it's what you tolerate, and he didn't tolerate any bullshit. Yeah. So that kind of that in coupling with how my dad raised me, just like it felt familiar, and I owe a lot of that to him getting on to me when I was slacking off or not letting me off easy just because I did really well in his class or because he liked me a lot in his class. I was still held to the same standard, expected the same amount of stuff, and I think that was a very pivotal role. And then also just the flexibility that the school provided was incredible. Like they probably don't like me saying that I was skipping class to go shoot real estate shoots. Yeah. I was. Oh gosh, how much trouble did I get in? I would borrow my parents' car. Didn't even have my license yet, and I would go from school to these shoots, take all the back roads. You'd be like, son, you can take the car, but take the back roads. You get in trouble. So I'd take the back roads, go do these shoots in the middle of the school day, and then my it doesn't work there anymore, so it's okay. But Mr. Chastain, he'd have a little side door in his classroom. He's like, all right, mark you as present. Just go out there and just knock when you're back and just come right back in. But he's also played a pivotal role to this day. To this day, we're great friends. We all hang out. and he slides his business all the time, and not little contracts. These are very reputable big players in the educational scene that he's helped us get involved with and make an impact to.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think so much of it is kind of the connections that you have, and then of course mentors that kind of teach and help along the way. I mean, obviously you had the passion of it, but kind of pressing that on forward and having someone that can mentor you, be hard on you, stuff like that. I mean, of the utmost importance.
Finding mentorship as early as possible and your like path to growth is so key. And it's so lucky. I mean, you could say it's lucky you found it early on, but you put yourself in the situation to like, you can find a mentor, like no matter how old you are or no matter where you are at. Like some people it's a little bit easier or harder. Some you might have to emulate someone that you got, that's your teacher. You're seeing them every day.
Yeah.
Like that's not like that's a nice mentor.
Like it's easy to look at Alex Hormozi or look at these big players in the business scene and love their content online, but it's a whole different thing to like have somebody that can talk to you, as a person and not as content on a screen, and actually give you direction in not just life. His knowledge of business probably isn't what mine is to this day, or maybe it is, I don't know, but his the experience, I put a lot of it on like they have more experience than me, and that's one lesson I wish I learned earlier was like when I was like between the ages of like 14 to like 18, like me and my dad were on a rocky relationship, like nothing, he held me to a very high standard and no shit flew in that house. And then I was like 19, 20, and I was like, holy shit, he's kind of right about like everything. And I was like,
it's funny how that
crap. I was like, damn, this, I understand like why he was the way he was. And I like, I'm happy that I understand that now because I use my dad is a big resource for me. And like, I'm fortunate enough that we can talk and he can provide advice. And like, even in Proverbs, it talks about, I'm going to say this in layman's terms because I can't quote it word for word, but it talks about, how you should have many counselors. You should seek advice from many people, trusted people, that is. I don't accept advice from everybody. There's like 5, 6, 7 people that I would actually, take constructive criticism from and let talk to me a certain way and, give me feedback in a way that I'd,
Yeah.
we need a bomb button. We need like a little like ding 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 button. Like repeat that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's so good. So take us back to you're 14. You really started getting clients, right? Like what is that? Was it where did clients come from? And did you always think of it like you wanted it to be a business, or were you just?
I don't even. Oh man, the first me running the business in high school was, and I just want to preface this now. Like it was really cool to say you're a business owner, like in high school. It was a fun like show. You could flex or whatever. But now I'm like, if they don't need to know, I don't want anybody to know who I am. Like I don't, unless it's a person that I'm trying to build a connection with or like is in my network. Like if it's some random Joe Schmo, like I just work at a marketing company, bro. I don't want them to know what I do or like that I'm the owner or anything like that. But to kind of go back,
it's a funny evolution too. Like we've talked to some people in different situations too, and like a lot of the multimillionaires want to be undercover millionaires. So it depends on, like you said, depends on the situation you're in. It depends on the rooms you're in too. So you want to be able to make yourself known at your appropriate time and not to everyone.
Not just to everybody.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an evolution. And it's 6, how many people do you guys hire?
So right now, or do we have hired for us?
Yeah, how many people work up?
So we have 9 people on staff, and then we probably have like 4 contractors that we work with, like B2B, that help us, do the fulfillment side of things.
That's pretty awesome. 21, I got 9 people plus 4 contractors working for you. That's pretty great. And that's a 6-year road though. That's from 14 to
and once I got a hang of it, and I'll kind of tie it back in. So like because it's all part of the evolution. Like I started it because I knew I'd always wanted to be in this industry. I just didn't know where to get into it. So I was on YouTube and I saw this thing that was like, easy ways to make money doing video or whatever. And it was video real estate. And it talked about real estate, low barrier to entry, yada, 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 all these things. So I was like, okay, this might be where I can start. So I had a camera. I had like a crappy little like stabilizer, but I didn't have the right lens. So I had to ask my dad for a loan of $200. I was 14, right?
Yeah.
But my father is a man of lessons, so he charged me interest at 14 years old. He's like, all right, yeah, I'll give you $200. I had to convince him why. He's like, all right, I like this business plan. Gave me the $200, but he's like, you're going to pay it back with 3.5% interest. Just, teach me a lesson that the world ain't free. So I paid that back and I got this lens and I was like, all right, we're off to the races. No clients, dead for, nothing for like 6 to 8 months. It was rough. I was like freaking out, didn't know what to do. And then I was fortunate enough to give a presentation at Coldwell Banker in Bella Vista. And I remember I gave that presentation, like had my whole little speech prepared, practiced it the night before. And I went in there and, just talked in front of these realtors for like 15 minutes. And I remember like that day, like I got so much business. I made $800 in a week and I was 14 and I was like, holy shit, is this what it's like to have a job? It was incredible.
Yeah.
But like the first 2 years were rough. Like it was like, I didn't make more than $20,000 in 2 years, from the age of like 14 to like 16 pretty much. Like I made no money. And then it was the years after that where it was like the exponential growth into, where we are now.
Yeah.
But it was, a lot of it was just, doing the right thing always is how I got a lot of clients, never, if we messed up, always making it right for people and, just trying to do good work, trying to be the best I can and provide quality, even though the quality was terrible at the time. And also, the fact that we charged $25 for drone photos. So that was,
that
was very enticing for an agent that wants to, save some money on their marketing.
Plenty of people want to save money out there for sure.
Yeah. So, the 14-year-old with the $24.99 drone package, 10 photos.
Yeah. So even 14 to 16 though, making more than $10 an hour.
I was about to say, I'm so sorry.
You're like no money, but
yeah, I was taking quarters, fucking delivering newspapers door to door. Like I would take that, and I think lifeguarding was like my first like.
Let me retract that. I'm very fortunate that we made that.
We felt like, but you being not that, but that's part of the mindset of my mindset wasn't. I mean.
In the time, like I was thrilled.
Yeah.
Like when I was in it, when I was living it, I was like, oh, I'm doing great.
But it sounds like you were already you would skip class to go pursue this path. Like you were putting hours in beyond school, but even in during school. So it's like you felt maybe that was minimum. Like I don't know how many hours you.
Like if I was doing the math, I was probably making like $4 or $5 an hour.
Yeah.
Between editing, traveling, and shooting.
Right. And so even like on that business development phase, I think this is a good lesson for a lot of listeners. I mean, what did that look like? You mentioned maybe 6 to 8 months or more of not really having any business.
Yeah.
You're paying on this lens to your dad.
Yeah.
And are you out trying to get meetings like with Coldwell Banker?
I was out
through email or call.
Yeah, I was calling and I was hustling. I was trying to find business everywhere. I was going to these different brokerages trying to offer. I was like, oh, this presentation works. I'm going to go try to give more presentations. And like, it was just slow.
So you always knew real estate was, so you were, I think before we started, you were talking a little bit about maybe you experimented with weddings, but it sounded like early on real estate
was the only thing I did for probably 2 years in the very beginning. And it, not because I loved it, but it was what was working. So I was like, all right, great. This works, so that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't care. I was like, this works. This is the direction that I want to go. So it's better than doing nothing.
Yeah, right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So now you start to get some momentum. You obviously are getting these jobs from some real estate folks and things like that. Maybe you're sprinkling in weddings here and there.
Yeah.
You mentioned you don't really do that for the most part though, but I know you've obviously done a ton of projects up to this point.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the employees that you have and some contractors that you work with, stuff like that. What do you think was kind of a pivotal moment for you as a business owner? Obviously things start to grow.
Yeah.
And it's hard, even in real estate and for both of us, it's hard to let go of the reins, I think, a lot of times, because you really care about the quality of product that you're providing or the quality of service that you're providing, and you feel like nobody can really do it to the the way it needs to be done, like you think it needs to be done.
Oh, for sure.
So what did that look like, learning process wise, to kind of start to let go of the reins in certain areas to where you can really focus on continuing growth?
From the timeline, like to look at it from a holistic scale, it was like I was very hands-on, and then I started like becoming more hands-off, and then I became very hands-off. And then I had to get very involved again. And then I'm right here back as at kind of very involved. And that's like over the span of 6 years. So it kind of was like, all right, we're starting to get it. Okay. going right back down. We're doing a bunch of changes, and then yada yada yada. So it was very scary at first because I had never, I'd only ever done my product. I'd never managed anybody before.
Yeah.
And I was like, 17, 18. It was just me and my buddy Peyton. Peyton was the day oneer. So a lot of it was just like, hey dude, you wanna come out and shoot this with me? And then he had a cool camera, so it worked for me, and it worked well for us. And then eventually I was like, hey, can you try to edit this? And it was like 75% of the way there. I was like, this is so close. But what was 100% to me, or 100% to the client is well, let me say this. Sorry. I think Gary Vee said this quote, but it was like 80% of what your employee can give you, like if it hits the bar by like 80%, like that's probably like 100% to the client anyways.
Yes.
That last 20% is really just you nitpicking like very small, strenuous details that really nobody probably wouldn't notice to begin with. So I think, resetting my expectation to see, or to say like, what is good enough? What is the bar? Am I holding the bar too high right now? Can we get there? Or, what does that look like? So I think once I looked at it as 80%, I was like, okay, this is 80% of the way there. Yeah, this is fine. And the client was like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Didn't have any complaints. The hardest problem was getting the clients to get used to working with Peyton versus me.
Right.
So we lost a lot of clients when there was a big transition, and he started wanting to do more real estate, and I was stepping out of the production stuff. And the clients were very much like, no, I want Brian. He has to be there.
Yeah.
I was like, I just trying to grow the business, man. I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah. I think you see that often. I mean, I've had similar situations with doing stuff like that, or with, in other areas where, you feel like you want to work with the person that you originally signed up to work for, and you're paying a premium because you like the person, or you like what they've done.
Yeah.
So the transition period, I think that transition period though has to happen, and it's important as a business owner, whether you're in kind of your field or any other field, real estate wise too. You can't even just kind of talk like from a realtor perspective.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people have transaction coordinators for instance, and transaction coordinators, are kind of helping the process of documentation and making sure every kind of step on that part is done really well. And a lot of folks don't want to give that up because they feel like, they may miss something or blah, blah, blah. But I think there has to be, as a business owner, there has to be a transition point if you want to continue to grow.
Yeah.
Where you kind of have to just, train and let them go.
Yeah.
And kind of teach along the way.
It's like to the point now where I went and did a shoot for Peyton, and Peyton had only ever worked with this client. And I went to go do the shoot, and they're like, oh, Brian, so nice to meet you, yada, yada, yada. And then, did the shoot, whatever, gave them the deliverables. And then Peyton went to another shoot for them like a couple weeks later. And they're like, oh, Peyton, thank God you're back. We wanted you. And I was like, perfect. This is what I wanted.
Yeah, that's fun.
There's a lot of lessons in that. And your 80-20 principle, I think it's just goes down to like, no one's going to do it as good as you. Like that you have to let up some of that mindset. Like I could lease the hell out of an apartment building. Every single person, I would have a very high success rate of the people that came through the door. I would be following up with them right away professionally, but my highest and best use isn't leasing an apartment.
Yeah.
Maybe it's talking to the regional manager, or maybe it's like on a touch base, looking at rent rates and what are we charging last week for this week, or maybe it's talking to different insurance agents, and maybe it's finding the next deal. There's a lot better sources.
It's not always doing the nitty gritty stuff. Yeah. What can you delegate out? What's the low hanging fruit that you can delegate out quickly?
And then giving them the opportunity to do that, giving other people the opportunity to shine.
Yeah.
Like you gave Peyton the opportunity to shine, and they're like people, are requesting him now.
Yeah.
Like he's stepping up. So
I
think that's part of it too. Like, okay, and now you talked about you're coming back more into the business again because you gave it up a lot.
Even have too much, to the point where it was like, okay, I need to get back in here.
Yeah. So I mean, that's another important, like figuring that out quickly, like not letting that get off the reins too much, where I need to fire someone, or I need to step in more, or I need to maybe I need to hire someone else for this role.
And it was always like, and there's a lot more of my philosophy has been like, I don't want these guys to come to me with a problem and I'm the source of truth. I want them to come to me with a problem and a solution to the problem. And like now we have it set up. So you've met Jeremy. I don't think you've met Jeremy, but so I own the business and Jeremy is what we call the integrator. You know, if I have vision or, you know, there's something that I think we need to implement, he's kind of the one that makes it all happen through the business. And a lot of his job is also managing the different departments. We have to ensure things are running smoothly.
Yep.
You know, letting them go to Jeremy and come to them with a problem and a solution versus just, hey, like, Jeremy, there's a problem. I need you to like fix it. So now it's more of like, I want them to be free thinking and like, you know, have a role to play, be able to actually make a difference.
Yes.
And, you know, just provide coaching versus telling somebody what the answer is.
Right.
A lot of like what I've, you know, been trying to crack the code to is like, how do you like managing people? Managing people is the hardest possible part of the entire business. Like that is by far the trickiest part. It's not sales, it's not product. It's how do I get people to do what we need them to do and want to do it, right? And that's been the trickiest part.
I'll give you a good book for that. Who Not How is a good. There's like 100 management books out there too. Like John Maxwell Maxwell has a lot of good ones, but Who Not How is a great one.
That is a tricky part though. Just figuring out kind of how to keep people motivated for the same goals that you're motivated for.
Yeah.
Of growth and treating people well and having high integrity and stuff like that. It's not, you know, for a lot of people working is just, you know, going to do what they need to do and what they're asked to do and then going home. And it's not, you know, when you can get employees and folks around you to start thinking like you are and like take a deep care into what they're doing and treat people
like
well.
committed to the growth of the business. Like Aiden's all in. He didn't go to college because of this. Like Jackson dropped out of college because of this.
That's awesome.
Like Jeremy is a college dropout as well. And this is the bread and butter. Like this is the A plan and this is the plan that's going to work.
Yeah.
You know,
that's awesome.
If it doesn't work, God forbid, like, you know, we'll come up with another great idea and do that.
Yeah.
But like, this is what we're all invested into and like, they're all committed to it. And that was like the extra step. It wasn't, they're just coming in here to just put in their 8 hours and bounce. It was, they're coming in here because they want to see it succeed and they know that they can be a part of something that can grow and, you know, impact people.
Yeah. I like how Brian's over here saying, we had this guy drop out, and Brandon's like, that's awesome. Like,
What do you think about that, Brian?
Yeah. I brought it up on another episode and just talking about, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-week-old, and I don't know if they'll go to college. If they want to go to the University of Arkansas, I think I'll support it. If they don't want to, I'll support that too. I think I'll leave it up in their hands and, you know, try to provide some guidance, but I absolutely will not be like, hey, we need to get straight A's so you can get a full ride to University of Arkansas.
Yeah, that's something I like. It's like why are we trying to preach that that's the only one way, right?
Yeah.
Like that was the one thing I hated in high school was like, all right, now you got to, you know, all this stuff for college. I was like, I'm not going to college, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do none of that.
Times have changed for sure. I mean, when I was growing up, it still was super valuable to have a college degree. And if you're out there looking for,
and I don't think it's not it's
still
not valuable.
Yeah.
Like it is valuable. It just depends on, you know, where you're at in life. Like if you're an 18-year-old, you don't know anything better. Like think about you guys at 18. Like I know I was an idiot doing the absolute most moron stuff.
Yeah.
That was like, if I made the decision to go to college, like when I look back at it 20 years after and be like, wow, that was the right thing to do.
Right.
Or I'd be like, no, I probably could have gone somewhere. Because you can go to these places. If you're motivated and you're disciplined and you have like the work ethic, you'd be surprised what kind of people will pick you up. And just you go there and say, I'm here to learn. I'm not here to make the highest possible paying job, but I'm here because I want to learn and like, you know, go to that next level. Can you teach me? You know how much more likely they're going to be to teach you versus some brat coming in saying, I want, you know, maybe a little bit more on the paycheck.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, dude, kick rocks. You don't know anything about anything.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, even, you know, when I was growing up, it was still important. And if you're looking, you know, if folks out there are looking to be at Walmart and they want to grow there, like most of the jobs still require a bachelor's degree. So there's value there. For me, like going, you know, I wanted to play ball in college. So I did that for 2 years. And then all I wanted to do was be a hog and to finish there. And so I did that. And I went to Arkansas for the last 2 years. You know, spent the money, and I would say it was 100% worth it. And it was not because of the classes. My sole
Brandon?
it was I mean my sole focus when I went to the U of A was like I want to meet everybody on this campus, and I want to be I want to know the future business leaders that are going to stay here in Northwest Arkansas.
Are you still connected with people that you went to college with that are like making moves in the community now?
Big time, yeah.
That's awesome.
And if I wouldn't have gone to the U of A the last 2 years, I mean, I think I would. There's just no way I would be where I'm at. I truly believe that. And it wasn't because of the schooling or anything like that. It was just because, connections, I think.
Would you guys
intertwine with that?
Would you guys say that when you were like senior, like sophomore or junior, senior in high school, that you knew what you wanted to do, or that where your thought of where your career path would go was what it is today when you guys were that young?
No. I mean, it pivoted quite a bit. And for the college thing, I think that's a huge benefit, like networking and, socializing. It is a skill, like whether you're in fraternity or not, like that's almost like political.
Right.
But finishing something that you start there's value in that.
Yeah.
Finishing something that you start in. And I think college helps you think like how to think, not what to think, but how to think, how to do problem solving. And depending on why you're going and what you're specializing in. And also it depends on your background, like your high school it depends on your upbringing. Did you have a lot of entrepreneurs in your life, or did you, were both your parents teachers, and, maybe college exposes you more to some business classes and some networking and different organizations and future players in that area you're growing. So
yeah, there's for sure, like, sorry not to cut you off, if I may. They're like, there's definitely value. Like one of the girls we brought on, Rebecca, like she has a marketing degree. And I was like, she knows things that I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. She's like, I was like, where'd you learn that? She's like, oh, marketing class. I was like, oh, maybe I should go to marketing class at the U of A. Maybe I could, maybe there's a foundation that would be beneficial to that.
Yeah, 100%. And we could do a whole hour podcast on just going to we could have a debate about how college.
Should we go to college? Yeah.
And maybe we should do like a 30-minute podcast there. And actually our next guest is a Harvard MBA grad. So we're gonna ask him the same question and see what his thoughts are on that.
I love it.
You're talking about marketing here too. I think with about a little less than
segue.
I think that'd be a great way to segue. And
just so we mentioned this at the beginning, but I think a lot like brand presence is super important, not only for real estate agents, which you work a lot with out there in the market, but investors especially. So I mean, we talked a little bit about attracting more capital to deals that you're finding and you're trying to put together, or trying to even acquire better tenants in your properties and showing off the amenities that you have and stuff like that. I think even beyond that though, we've had Henry Washington on the podcast. Henry, I saw a clip from Henry and Henry mentioned, he's talking to a crowd and he's like, I have the secret that I know nobody will do out here. And he's like, I will, if you'll just go on social media and put out there to the world, like, hey, I'm looking for, duplexes in Fayetteville, and I'm a buyer for it. Like, keep me in mind kind of deal, and do that on a regular basis. It's free. You don't need to do anything. And people will start to think about you when they come across a duplex in Fayetteville or whatever. And so I think just thinking about, having a strong brand presence and being willing to put yourself out there is so important. Like, tell me a little bit about that, and like how you've seen even your clients, or maybe even how you would pitch to your to prospective clients. Yeah. Like what it means to have a good brand presence, I guess.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes back to the one thing I love about marketing is that it's not like it's always changing so much. Like, at one point it was newspapers, one time it was billboards, still is, for a lot of these things. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. Yeah. Kind of the way I look at it, just because billboards aren't as popular now doesn't mean you should, necessarily count them out. Like, you should always invest in all sorts of marketing. You should always try something new. A lot of it is just trying. Like, and, right now, a lot of the focus is on social media. Do you have Instagram? Do you have Facebook? Do you have LinkedIn? Do you have TikTok? How many do you have? Right?
Yeah.
How many do you have?
On what?
On all of them. Yeah, YouTube.
It's a good question. I've got YouTube.
One, Instagram,
Facebook,
TikTok,
Twitter. No, TikTok, no.
Anything else?
No TikTok here.
No.
You're on TikTok?
I said no TikTok here.
I don't like TikTok.
LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook are the three for me.
Yeah.
I would say Instagram,
LinkedIn too, yeah.
Instagram more I do the most, and then Facebook and LinkedIn.
And I can say each one of those platforms has brought me a deal one way or another, which is pretty cool. So so obviously, I mean, you can keep going. Like, how important do you think it is to?
It's so important.
Yeah,
it's so freaking important. Like and not just from like a brand awareness standpoint, like from the standpoint of you can create an entirely additional acquisition channel to your business from social media. Our biggest acquisition channel right now is our Instagram. Like shit just floods in to the point where we have to be kind of diligent with who we take on if we're going to scale, carefully.
Right.
But like it used to be all referral based. It was all very much like word of mouth referral. That was the only marketing that I had. And, but I wasn't really doing marketing at that point. I was just doing, video production and photos. And then more recently in the last couple of years, we started investing a lot on Instagram, and, I just watched it take a huge chunk of where we got a lot of our leads and deals from. And a lot of the people I can tie back are like all through social media one way or another. It may have been from something that somebody else shared that they saw and they liked, but it all kind of eventually led back, to social media.
Do you recommend people having all platforms or dive into one platform, or what's?
It's loaded because obviously it comes back to like how much capacity do you have? Like if you're a, corporate company and you can put, hundreds of thousands or millions into marketing, then I would say you need to have every platform. But, if you're rolling on a budget and you have to pick one, and, pick the one that fits your audience the best.
Right.
I can't, we can't personally be on every platform. We don't have the capacity. We don't have the staff to do it.
Right.
I'd love to. That's the goal at some point. But we know we have strong following on Instagram, and that's where we focus a lot of our efforts. That's working. That can also be dangerous to a certain standpoint, because what if, by God forbid, something happens to Instagram and it goes away?
Right.
Just lose an entire channel. So I think it's important to have more than one channel. I don't think you need to have all of them to necessarily be successful. But you should never discount like any of the platforms, even as much as you don't like them.
Right.
If you can afford to, invest into all of them, then you can look and see. You can get data. You can say, all right, if Snapchat is sucking, maybe we pull a lot of money out of Snapchat and put it somewhere else. You don't need to invest in everything. You got to test and get data and see what works over the course of time, and take that and say, all right, like we get a lot of our clients from LinkedIn and Instagram. So maybe we should double down on LinkedIn and Instagram versus all the other ones that we have seen have not worked for our marketing.
Absolutely. No, that's cool. I think it's just super important to have some kind of presence on each, right? Just like you said, I mean, there's been so many social media platforms that have popped up and died the next day, right?
Yeah.
Vine's no longer existed. But there's probably so many people.
Were you around with Vine?
I was like right there at the ending years.
Yeah. And then even, like I'm thinking like Clubhouse, I think was one that was big for a second. That one was gone like that.
You get in on everyone like it's almost like a walkie-talkie.
That one was not super long ago, but it was like it was there and gone like that. So I think that's important. Something else that I've also noticed across social media and like folks that have success using it with business. Number one, it's free, but number two, like they found ways to add value to their audience. And so it's not just throwing stuff out there. Like I think it's easy to see, anybody, and especially in the real estate business, to like, for me being a realtor, posting a house that just got listed, or like just doing the boring stuff that doesn't really add value to people. What? Yeah.
What do you mean?
And then,
add value to the person looking for the house.
Right. That's fair. But looking at like, looking at what you do out there, you're even putting content out that maybe is helping other content creators, videographers, stuff like that. I think about one of my biggest clients. He's an investor, younger guy, and he's got a huge presence on Twitter, X, and he just adds value. He talks about the deals that he's doing. He talks about just kind of like things he's seeing in the market, how he's structuring deals, doing deals. And now, what I think that creates is it creates a trust, and it creates like he's the guy. For instance, that client, he has people around the country now that are sending him deals consistently that he's getting access to, nobody else is, because he's got this presence, and he, people see him as a guy that he gets deals done, right? Yeah. So like even for you can kind of touch on that. Like, have you seen that in your own business, the momentum of your own socials kind of help you create more business?
I think it was really game changer when we were trying to identify the intent behind what we were doing with it. Like everybody, you ask somebody what the intent of Instagram is if they're a business owner, and it's either brand awareness or get leads. And ours was always like, how do we, I guess do that? But that's all, like that all comes with putting out content, right? Like, how do we educate? How do we inform? How do we give value? If you look at social media as a platform to project your knowledge to help other people, like you're going to, like it will all come by proxy, just leads and brand awareness.
Right.
So I think putting intentionality behind why you're doing it, the why is very important. Why do you have social media? What do you want to have social media for? Why are we even posting on it to begin with? Is it just to get more leads? That's kind of selfish. How about we, God forbid you make a change in the world and help somebody else out, right?
Right.
Like we can put out content that is valuable to other people. And, Gary Vee calls it a jab. I think it's jab, jab, hook. Like value, offer, right?
Yeah.
Give them value, maybe slide them a little offer right there.
Yeah.
Right. And you can temp check. I like called temperature checking people. You can post something on your story. Like, for you guys, for instance, we'll just say this, are you looking to invest? Yes or no? Put on your story. Yes. Okay. You have a whole list of potential warm leads now. If they said yes, right? Opens up a whole new door. If they say no, great. Okay. Who cares? But if they say yes, you can kind of see who's interacting with this. If they're qualified, every now and then someone who's qualified is going to pop up in there, and you can use social media as the gateway to contact them and start working with them potentially.
How important do you think that like you both mentioned it in adding value too, in the brand, like this having this brand identity? I think you nailed it too. Like, why am I doing? And maybe that's a question you have to ask yourself again. And maybe that pivots, like, why am I doing this, and who am I trying to serve, or who am I trying to reach? I think is big. And then what kind of value can you? The realtor, maybe it's I'm adding value by showcasing this home really well and telling you all the facts about it versus just this, and I'm doing it in a fun way, like for a I think you try to find ways to add value. So I guess my question to you is, what other ways are there to help someone create a brand identity? Is that to go narrow, to go broad? Is it, what would your...
That's a good question. So to go narrow or to go broad? So I'll kind of answer that with my experience on ours. So we had more of a narrow audience in terms of the content we put out. A lot of it was very directed towards videographers and creators. And those videos did great. Some of them did very successful, tens of thousands of views, did very, very well. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, this is great, but we're not, we don't work with videographers. They're not our clientele. Our business, how can we provide value to the clientele that we're doing? And that was kind of a pivoting point. How do we provide this value? And I think not being so concerned with the vanity metrics, how many likes you get, how many views you get, how many followers you get from it, how many followers you have, how many shares you have, yada, yada, yada. What are these metrics that people look at that, gauge success by? If you get 600 views on a video, you probably couldn't fill this office with 600 people. If 3 of those people end up being, qualified, 3 people with, in the right position could change your life forever. Even one person, whatever it might be. So I think that kind of repositioning who the people you're appealing to and thinking about what can I give them that's valuable that they use. So I think being niche is good, but you got to point it in the right direction, right? So many people miss the mark a little bit. We missed the mark. As much as I love making, badass video content about how to make dope videos, Brian Wager doesn't care as much about that, right? Brian still doesn't care as much about that. But if I tell you, how you can use a tool on social media to help your brand or help your followers, that's going to be a lot more engaging for you.
I love that. I think even tying that back to an example out in the real estate investing world, I talk about it often, but Grant Cardone, right? Grant Cardone's a big real estate investor down in Florida, and he, I started watching him in probably 2015, 2016, so almost 10 years ago. I still will see on my social media, Saturday morning it pops up, Grant Cardone is live, and he's doing, a free live video showing people how to invest in real estate and underwrite deals and stuff like that. And so for him and some other investors, like I like what you've been doing a lot of stuff, kind of showcasing new product that you're, looking to raise capital for and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I think you do a great job on your social media. Do some more. But I think you do a great job on your social media. You post your fitness stuff, your journey, you as an entrepreneur, I think that's genius. You show it in the most authentic possible way. I think people misconstrue like authenticity for like not good looking content. Like,
Right.
at the end of the day, it all comes down to like this is like, what is the backbone of this? And the example I like to use is you'll watch a video on how to use a drill if you don't know how to use a drill. And it could be 20 minutes long and shot on an iPod Touch, and it could look like it was shot on a potato. But if you need to know how to use that drill, and that video will tell you, you're going to watch that whole 20-minute video.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't have any relevance to you, it could be the most visually appealing video, but you're like, yeah, I don't care, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it all comes back to like, what's the backbone of the content? That's why I preach intentionality with your content so much, because it really is so important. What's the story? What's the intent behind it? If there's no intent, then who cares?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
That's why, I mean, you guys get like you said, that's good, but I don't post enough. Like it takes time for you to do that by yourself, and to be, for me, like to be authentic and still post quality content, unless you have like a team that helps post for you and takes that away. And for me, it's like, I don't want to give that up, but at the same time, maybe I need to be like, hey, it's 80% effect. If they're,
But maybe the better question is what's the low hanging fruit that you can chop off? Like, do you need to be responding to all the comments and all the DMs that you get? Or is that an easy, thing that you can source out quickly? And then do you need to be the one that's creating all the content? Or can you condense that to, a few hours a month where you go and get content and you layer that out through an entire month? And then you can be active on your stories because that's, easy for you to do. You have your phone on you, easy picture, easy tag, whatever. You don't have to necessarily make this crazy content. And I think that people get so hung up on it needs to be perfect. Like, it doesn't need to be perfect. I will happily pull out my iPhone and record a video right now and then post that straight to our platform. And it's not recorded on a perfectly nice camera. Like, it's not recorded on a professional video camera. That's all just like additional icing on top, right? At the very end of the day, it's all about the value that you add through the content.
Yep. And then I think even just repetition, right?
Yeah.
And then like we're talking about here, just continuing to put value out for people, or kind of, again, for real estate investors, even just letting people know what you're doing. Even like, you're walking a property, a quick video of you at the property, and on your story or something like that is enough for people. People are continuing to note that, man, Brian's a real estate investor. He, and they come
talking about it consistently. Yeah. People are going to pick up on it. Oh, he invests in real estate. Like, I had a really unique property that we shot. It was still off market. And I was like, I'm curious if this is an investment opportunity. And I went to the first person on social media that I knew. I'd never met this person before, but I always saw them posting investing content. This was before I met you, Brian. But I always saw them posting investing content. I was like, hey man, like, I just shot this property. Like, it goes live in like a week. I just want you to take a look at it. I thought it might be interesting. If it worked out in his favor, he could have made some money off of that. But it's you're completely right. Like, if you are at the forefront of people's minds, you're going to be the person they go to. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. Like, 600 people is a lot of people. 1,000 people is a lot of people.
Right.
9,500, however many yada yada people is a lot of people. And I think it's so easy to get hung up on like how many followers you have, and that's so important when it's really not as important as you think it is.
Yeah, and I think that's what one of the big points we wanted to hit on for listeners is the importance of being able to build a brand, and it doesn't have to be outrageous. It doesn't have to be the most professional content. I would use polarity though if you're going to try to do some professional content. But if you're,
I would say like, sorry, but to cut you off, but I was going to say like the backbone of our business, our promise at the end of the day is like, you will grow. Yeah. Whether it's from more consistent content, whether it's through a better brand image, or whether it's through leads. Like, I'm not going to sit here and promise I'm going to grow your business 50% in 6 months, but I will say that you're going to grow. Like, on the visual side, on the awareness side, on the consistency side. Like, at the very end of the day, when you take away everything else, like, that is true. You can't deny that. Right. I think that's what's also important to tell people.
Yeah, and I think it is so important for investors, for business owners to, like you said at the beginning, making business sexy, right? Business is sexy is your motto, and I think it's so important if you want to continue to be in a spot where people assimilate you with deals, right? Especially in Northwest Arkansas. I don't think there's anything more important if you want to continue to do deals. Right? Brian, you probably know this at the forefront. Like, if someone thinks of you first and you have first access to that, I mean, how important is that to your business, right? Because when you're in a market where it's uber competitive, and everybody's looking for a lot of the same stuff. You probably have a ton of competitors out there.
Yeah, how are you setting yourself apart?
How are you setting yourself apart? Yeah,
like not even thinking about it a year down the line, thinking about it 10 years down the line. If you start now and you invest in social media and over the course of 10 years, like, you got to be kidding me if you don't grow. Like, I don't know.
exactly.
It's impossible not to grow if you're consistent. You do all the right, you make sure you do the right thing. You have intent. You try to be as best as you possibly can over the course of 10 years. You're going to grow. I can probably almost guarantee that you will get some form of a deal from that will make it worth the investment overall.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I don't have anything else.
You got a smile on your face.
There's a lot of. You should rewind that past couple minutes there. I mean, you both said a lot of good things there, and I think, there's putting 10 years into anything. I hope you grow. But social media, just start doing it. I think there's value in not having the perfection mindset too. Like turning the phone around and just telling people what you're doing. It makes me think of my father-in-law's business that I just acquired recently, Laxon Painting.
Yeah.
They did zero advertising, zero marketing, doesn't even have a logo, but built the company from scratch for the past 30 years, does $3 million in sales a year, does stuff at the home office, does stuff for the school systems, and does works with a lot of the large GCs, has a really good, and he did it just from reputation, word of mouth, but that was...
And that's you can totally do it that way. Yeah. But imagine you run that through a marketing engine for the next 5 years, that you'll probably take it from 3 million to, maybe 10. I don't know. I don't know what the business, plan is.
We'll talk after this podcast for sure. But just like the other side of that too. But I think that's a different world too. Reputation is huge.
Yeah.
And I think social media can help you showcase that too. Like, here's my proven, here's something that, whether it's building that credibility, here, I've already done this project and I had good results.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. But
just have fun with it too. It's so fun.
Yeah.
You can try so much stuff.
Yeah.
We love to have fun with it, man.
Dude, it's nonstop. That's the great part about the innovating side of marketing, right?
Yeah.
There's always a new way to touch people, and then even the old ways continue to work, right? Sending mailers and calling on people, those forms of marketing will never stop working, and so I think that's a pretty cool part.
Yeah.
Just as we wrap up, Brian, I want to just ask a few questions on kind of just advice you give to others, and then kind of wrap it up with something else. But what advice would you give for aspiring entrepreneurs that are looking to start a business, or especially here in Northwest Arkansas?
So much good advice. I think something that sticks true to me is two things: is try to always do the right thing for people. Don't try to be too greedy. Try to always do the right thing and make right by people. But then also, find someone smarter than you, and just go learn as much as you possibly can about something. Because even if they're not directly in your industry, if they're smart and they're wise, there's lessons that they can teach you that can be applied anywhere in life. I think that was probably the biggest thing for goodness. Damn. Water bottle. But find somebody that you can have as a mentor. I'm so thankful that I found a mentor, and even to this day, if it weren't for social media, I wouldn't have been plugged in with the mentor that I have to this day, who now works for us as a third party, as a contractor, to help us develop our business. If it weren't for social media and I didn't meet that company and I didn't go there and meet all these people, who knows? So I think finding good people that you can learn from, and then also just doing the right thing by people.
Has your mentors evolved now that you're contracting out your old mentor?
Has he evolved?
Has your mentor, is that still you would consider him your mentor, or do you have new mentors now?
I've had a lot of mentors. I think, my father at the very beginning and still to this day, and then also Mr. Chastain and Pasquinzo through high school. That's kind of where their chapter was, It's not as active as it was back then. And then from there, it, kind of evolved to a couple other people. And I like to think of mentors as they're not necessarily there to stay the entire duration of your growth. They might be there for a specific part of that growth journey, and they might have served their purpose, and, you guys leave on good terms, but, you might be ready for the next person. And I think that, not being afraid to let go and kind of find the next person that can help you get closer to where your dreams are, where your goals are, is, a beautiful thing. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, no, I think so. You said you have a couple more, so I think like you said,
I can't name drop. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or I can maybe.
Maybe it's Gary Vee as a mentor. You quoted Gary Vee. You quoted the Bible earlier.
Yeah.
You look to other people, whether they're mentors in your physical life, and they're evolving as far as how much involvement they have. So I just wanted to harp on
like
that.
seeking wisdom has been huge. Like learning as much as I can, and like the people that I really like are not the people that always let me off easy, but just like gathering as much wisdom as I can, and learning to take it on the chin and evolve.
Yeah.
Not being so gung ho on being right. Like
Yeah.
if
absolutely.
I'm wrong, I'm wrong, dude. And that's just the way it is.
I think that's wise. I mean, I think it's so easy for anybody just to, point blame or whatever, but kind of understanding that when you're wrong and being able to own up is super important. I also liked what you said about just treating people the right way and always doing the right thing. I mean, at the end of the day, as a business owner, like the customer's always right, and then on top of that, the people around you in your business that are working on the business, there's nothing more important. And so like continuing to treat those people the right way and do the right thing. If a mistake happens, you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it right. I think that reputation in Northwest Arkansas goes a really long way. And I've even got a client that who I was mentioning earlier that he, one thing I know him for is he takes care of people that he deals with. And so whether it's myself and the way that we do deals and he brings me in or others I've seen that he's worked with out there, he continuously, just helps out. Like he's always treating people the right way and doing the right thing. And so people know him now. He's out of state and people know that he does the right thing and they want to bring him deals and do business with him, which I think is huge. So
our purpose has nothing to do with like our business. Our purpose of our business is to create. We have a VTO right now, so this is part of our VTO. But it's create impact through developing meaningful relationships. And I think that is like that's why we wake up in the morning. The fact that we can come do this, that we know we can go give to the charity. Whether it be through financially or whether it's through services or whether it's like just investing into like CCC and being a sponsor, like just trying to create impact and help you by providing marketing, and then you help us by getting our name out there more. It's all like the relationships, and it's all just it has to go deeper than just making a bunch of money, because that's like at the end of the day, like I feel rich in so many other ways. Like I don't feel rich financially, but like I feel rich in like in the sense of like I'm so fortunate that I've been able to help so many people, even like the smallest minuscule way, like being able to donate to the schools to help kids go on this trip, or be able to help purchase gear for somebody that can't afford gear, and just like help them get along in their life a little bit further. On their journey.
I love that. Yeah, I mean that's what, and you talked about it too. Keeping it fun is you can tell, and it's contagious, and people want to do business with you if you're enjoyable. And before we
try not to be a hard ass.
You did bring someone fun as part of your team too. I'd like to give a shout out to.
Yeah. You have anything to say?
Let's wrap up with this question for the both of y'all though. What is just as kind of what you were wrapping up that last part made me think about what do you think success means to you? I mean, when at the end of the day when you hang it up,
I'm gonna look at this like 10 years from now and be like, when did I say that? Like, why did I say that's what success
it always changes, but
what does success mean to me? Oh gosh,
being rich in more ways than one.
Just being able to, being rich in more ways than one. That's a beautiful way to put it. Yeah, being rich in more ways than one. I don't think I would change that. I think that's exactly what I would say.
Yeah,
you took the words out of my mouth.
You said it just right there. So.
Yeah, just cut out his part where he said it.
Right, exactly.
He said so.
No, I think that's great. And I mean, again, like you were saying, I think it changes over time. But but I think just kind of seeing something beyond just the financial part is cool.
Like creating impact, and I think changing the world, even in a small way, is what success means to me. Probably.
Yeah.
Having more than one, being rich in more than one way, then also being able to impact people for the better. I think those are my definitions of success.
I love it. Yeah. Man, go ahead.
It's been fun having you on, man. We've been laughing and having a good time. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hope people took out of this kind of nuggets on, how to grow their business, what it looked like for you, and some things they learned there.
I hope I provided some semblance of value.
Yeah. I hope they pulled out just kind of the importance of a brand presence.
Definitely got the wheels turning for me.
Yeah. If you're an investor, a business owner. And so, man, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad.
All right.
Cool.
So our next sponsorship is 1440 Photography. 1440 Photography is a local company here. I love getting local companies to sponsor this podcast. They're local, they do great service, and personally, I can speak that they do a great job on mine and my clients' stuff. If you're an investor or agent in Northwest Arkansas, you need 1440 Real Estate Media in your corner. They're not just photographers, they're real estate market experts, and it's the only thing they do. MLS photos, drone, video, Matterport, whatever your listing needs, they've got it. Everything is a la carte and it's totally customizable. And here's the best part. Just book online whenever works for you. They confirm and show up ready to go. Fast, easy, done. Where quality meets speed, book now at 1440photography.com. Our next sponsor is Advantage Title and Escrow. They're a local company. They do great work. Specifically, Kayla Phillips. I can speak personally on this sponsor because I use Kayla for all of my transactions. It's been 2, 3, 4 years now, and Kayla and I have done a ton of deals. We probably do between 65 to 80 deals a year together, and they do a great job. The SOPs, so systems and processing that they have over Advantage Title is just incredible. Clients love it. They do a great job from start to end communicating. When I give a deal to Advantage Title and Escrow, I know that it's going to be taken care of. There's no second guessing. I almost am able to treat them like a second transaction coordinator to my transaction coordinator that I already have. I know that they're going to handle the systems and processes correctly as an agent, as a homeowner, as a buyer or seller. They do an incredible job of handling a transaction and communicating throughout the process. They do a great job with communication, especially Kayla Phillips over there. I would highly encourage you, if you're looking to close on a home, buy a home, if you're an agent listening, to use Advantage Title and Escrow, specifically Kayla Phillips. So you're going to reach Kayla best at 501-358-1601, or you can email her, Kayla, Cayla, at goadvantagetitle.com. Advantage is ADVANTAGE title.com. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and list some sponsors off here. We're going to start with Flat Branch Mortgage, specifically Colton Kennedy. Colton and I personally do business together, and he's a wonderful lender here in the Northwest Arkansas corridor. Want to invest in real estate or purchase a home, but feel like you need a secret decoder ring to understand the process? You're not alone. First-time investors, house hackers, and future homeowners, Colton Kennedy has you covered. Colton Kennedy with Flat Branch Home Loans helps people like you break into the real estate market without the guesswork. Think of him as your mortgage strategist, helping you turn "I wish I could" into "I just did." You bring the vision, he'll bring the lending game plan. Let's make your first investment a smart one. Colton Kennedy with Flat Branch Home Loans. Contact him today by calling 417-437-0086 or emailing C as in cat, K as in Kimberly, ENNEDY at Flat Branch Home Loans. That's FBHL.com. That's 417-437-0086 or emailing CKENNEDY at FBHL.com. Thank you so much, Colton.
Special thanks to one of our sponsors who I've worked with personally on multifamily commercial loans as well as business acquisitions. People's Bank works with entrepreneurs, investors, deal makers, and risk takers. They're the ones who see opportunities where others see obstacles. Whether it's a vacant lot with a plan for a thriving business or making an old space new, they work with creators who think big and are not satisfied with the status quo. People's Bank helps you build Arkansas deal by deal and brick by brick. They don't just see numbers on a spreadsheet, they see your passion and vision. People's Bank, it's where people come first. Member FDIC. If you're needing loan assistance, reach out to Dakota at 870-883-1706 or DHEDDEN at peoplesbankar.com.
Our next sponsor is TDS IT. That's T as in Tim, D as in document, S as in solution, I as in information, T as in technology. This one hits personal. It's close to home. My dad, Tim Stanley, runs TDS IT, and he decided to sponsor our podcast. So I can speak from personal experience. I've been able to work for my dad in the past as well, and they're a great solution for business technology. If you're a local business owner or even out of state, if you're running a business, need printers, need information IT services, if you need phones, scanners, printers, all the way up to, you're printing books to, hey, we just need something in the office. TDS IT is that spot. They provide the best in-brand business technology with proven, best in local service, and they can prove it. Our next sponsor is from Whinstone Private Lending. This episode is brought to you by Whinstone Private Lending, one of the top private and hard money lenders now serving Northwest Arkansas. Whether you need short-term capital for a flip, a bridge loan, or creative financing, they've got you covered with very flexible products to fit nearly any deal, including 100% financing. What sets them apart is their deep expertise, fast response times, and ability to think outside of the box to help investors like us close quickly and efficiently. If you're looking for a real lending partner, check out Whinstone Private Lending. Link is in the show notes. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an update.
Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for more real estate insights and behind-the-scenes content.
Have a question you want us to cover? Send it our way. And if you're interested in sponsoring the show, visit nwainvesting.com to get in touch. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.